Mwasibire muta, mwasibye mutya, amahoro, agandi, Bible, habari gani, muraho, sangonini, kopango, odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to SheCentre, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _SheCentre_podcast and follow us on Facebook at the SheCentre Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Welcome back to SheCentre, the female podcast. I am thrilled to continue Vanessa's incredible story in this second installment of our two-part series. Last week, we delved into Vanessa's early life, exploring the profound impact of trauma and adversity on her journey. And today we pick up where we left off, as Vanessa shares even more about her experiences, answering the question, what happened to you? In this episode, Vanessa courageously opens up about her struggles with relationships, grappling with a sense of unworthiness and the consequences of her trauma. From abusive partners to finding solace in music, Vanessa's resilience shines through as she reflects on pivotal moments that shaped her path. But the journey doesn't end there. Vanessa takes us through a transformative period in her early 20s where her life took an unexpected turn as she navigated faith, love, and self-discovery. From encounters with a manipulative pastor to the shocking revelations of deceit, Vanessa's story is a testament to the power of resilience and the unwavering belief in a brighter tomorrow. Guys, I can't wait for you to listen to this episode because, as you know, if you listen to last week's episode, Vanessa doesn't hold anything back. So this is going to blow your mind. Anyways, join me as Vanessa bears her soul once again, sharing the highs and lows and everything in between. Her journey of healing, redemption, and finding purpose amidst chaos will leave you inspired and empowered. So grab your headphones and get ready for an unforgettable episode of SheCentre, the female podcast. Let's dive into Vanessa's story.
Like I always picked, like, if, some of my exes from like back home, like when you look at me, like me now that I've found myself, I look back and I'm like, yeah, there would be no way in hell I would have met or been with this person if I was how I am right now. Like if
the healthy part of you, yeah.
Right, the healthy version of me. Yeah. Because I literally, and that's when I started my healing process, is when because I blamed people. Like I always pointed fingers. I always was like, oh yeah, my parents did not protect me. This and that happened to me. So I started carrying that shit around like badges of honor. Like I'm entitled to be the way I am. If I make you mad, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is my life.
Victim mentality or?
Victim mentality. And remember now I'm a victim, but I'm also a people pleaser.
Why? Of course, because you lived in different homes and stuff.
Yeah. So I would confuse guys a lot because number one, I come off like this tough girl, and then all of a sudden, the moment they tell me they love me, all I wanted to hear was the word, I love you. Even if they did not mean it, it was just the words that because I grew up not hearing that, like ever. In all honesty, if you pay attention, more besides my relationship with my children's father, and yeah, I guess maybe that's just it. but all my other relationships were abusive.
Abusive in what way?
Like there was physical abuse, emotional abuse, like like there was like different kinds of abuse, financial. You know how you when you are a people pleaser, this is what happens. So let's say you're dating somebody, right? And they want you to do something you don't quite believe in. Like you feel like, no, you're not going to say no. You find yourself putting yourself in like strange situations just to appease the other person because they want this, I have to do it because if I don't do it then I'm going to be rejected. Like I think I had a fear of rejection because I grew up feeling rejected. So the fear of rejection made me want so bad to give this whatever they wanted in relationships. But it started to become difficult because then remember when you're God's favorite child, like I call myself, there's that constant reminder in your brain, like you cannot shake it off, saying you deserve better. Even if you don't even know where it's
Yeah.
coming from. You understand, like you know where it's coming from, but you feel it, like you could do better though. But then you also you don't know what better looks like because
I
you
know.
have never experienced it. But you feel like your brain tells you there has to be something better than
Yeah,
this.
I had when someone goes through abuse or when they have experienced a traumatic experiences, they start looking for these kinds of people in partners. I think it's kind of an easier way for your mind to be like, at least this time I'll be in control.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So,
like, okay, I'm going to go for the bad guy because I am the one who chose him. He didn't surprise me. Instead of
thank
going
you.
for someone who is healthy and then you're surprised. Because in your case, what you're explaining is like, a family member raped you. So that means you cannot trust anyone. But at least you'd rather go for people who look like they will rape you.
Right. Like and this is the weird part. The like you choose someone for some reason. For instance, I'll talk slightly about my relationship with Orlando. So I dated this guy. Number one, he's a musician. He was like, those days he was like, the hot stuff in town and all that stuff. And
Yes,
of
I
course,
remember those
I'm
days.
relating to like, because music and
Has
art
been
has
your.
always been my escape, right?
Yeah, so you were in
Like
the
every time
center
I
of
feel lost,
it. Yeah.
yeah, like every time I feel lost or confused or I can't figure out what's going on, music is like I run to music or
It's your
like
therapy.
movies and stuff like this. To me, I get like it's very therapeutic. It's
Yeah.
crazy how
Yeah.
much better I feel thereafter. I feel like I just went into a session, like a 2 hour session of therapy.
Yeah.
But it's so that like for instance, I dated this guy. He lied to me, but I knew, when somebody's lying to you and you can feel that they're lying to you, but also at the same time, it's almost like, who cares?
At least I expect it.
You understand? Hey, they're lying to you. I'm like, well, at least this one is lying to me. But at the end of the day, when he asked me out, he got attracted to me and I chose him. Like, he was my choice. Like, that thing of having choices for somebody who has been abused in the past, even if they're the wrong choices, it's almost in that when you're still, of course, not healed, it feels like an empowerment, okay? But
Yeah,
it's
you
not
feel
empowerment. You're like,
empowered. Yeah.
right, you feel empowered, like,
It's
yeah,
an
I can do it
unhealthy
myself.
way of empowering yourself.
Right, but
Yeah.
in your crop, you're empowering yourself in there, like,
And keeping
Um,
yourself in the same trauma.
exactly. So then he was a very jealous lover. And then
You were
now I
really
had,
hot. You were
hmm?
like the hottest girl in Kampala. So
Honey, hmm. I'll come back. I'll reincarnate and come back.
it's so weird for me to hear you say you had insecurities. I'm like, insecure what? This girl was like it. She was heaven.
But, right? Like, and
It's
then,
really what you're teaching me now is we look at people in
hmm,
our family or friends and look up to them. We don't know. That's why I'm asking the question, what happened to you? You know? I looked up to you until recently when you told me your whole story. I'm like, the worst I thought that had happened to you was growing up in multiple homes. I'm like, what? You got abused? First of all, the person who did it, I know. I wish I could even mention their name. I hate you if you know yourself. I'm sorry, I am a Christian. We shall
I
forgive.
know. We gotta forgive.
Exactly. But for me, I'm glad that I know all this after you've healed, because it would have. I don't want to make this about me, but if I knew what you were going through back then, because I was also going through some kind of like identity crisis. You know, I was going through the same issues of growing up here and here and here. You were my pillar of confidence. No, the confidence pillar. Like I was like, if I could just lift my head like her, you know, you would tell us walk like this, do like this, dress up like this. You used to tell us what to do with our lives. Like if you had said jump off the cliff, we would have jumped off of it. So if I knew what you were going through then, I think, because you weren't just my mom. And remember, mommy left and you stayed behind before you also left. So you were our mom, you were our sister, our big sister, our best friend. So at that moment, that's what we needed. Now, if we had also seen you crumble, I don't know where I would be right now.
Thank God did not let me do that, because I think,
but I don't know.
You know how God is amazing, because in his own ways, he somewhat knew and saw that there was other kids looking up to me.
Yeah, we were looking up to you, saying, I was like, man, this chick is the baddest chick, man. She talks to anyone the way she wants to. She does what she wants to do. And people are telling us, stay away from her. I'm like, why?
I know.
I do know everyone. I remember.
She's gonna spoil all the little relatives.
All of us used to be like, man, she's a Beyonce. I mean, the Ethel and Joel used to go to school and be like, yeah, our auntie Vanessa looks like Beyonce. So what? You know? And all that stuff. And for me, I was like, wait, look at this. My album, but it's here. It's full of your pictures. It was like my selling point at school.
So weirdest part is, in the Biataga family, Jonah was my favorite. Like, he was my very, very favorite.
Jonah or Joel? Jonah,
not Joel. Bigiti was Bigiti then, remember? My. So like then, Jonah was little. I'm talking about like the kid, like who was my favorite in the Biaftaga family. Jonah and Solomon. Solomon is because I related.
No, Solomon up to now is like, man, that chick is bad. Apparently you used to help them escape.
Oh yeah.
You used to provide. Man, you were a problem in that family.
I knew what to do. I knew what to do with squeaking doors and windows. I knew that.
Solo was like, man, that chick used to take us to club and would be VIP. But yeah, we're laughing about this. Yeah, I like. I don't know what that comedian's name is. He had this series of Laugh at My Pain. Right. We're laughing right now. This was a painful experience for you. You were this whole time you were responding to trauma, and for us, we were seeing a cool person being cool, you know?
Rebellious and all that.
Exactly. And we're like, man, I want to be free like her. I want that freedom. I want that aggressiveness. I want all this stuff. And yet, you're not asking, what happened to this person? Why? What has happened to make her like this? Because I know for you it started, like you said, you were raped at 15.
Mm-hmm.
There has to, if you were staying in a consistent home where you are with your parents, they would have noticed there is a change somewhere. Okay, there is being stubborn, but there is something new that has started now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. They say we have to forgive our parents for the miracles they didn't perform, so we don't know why they had to make the decisions they made. Yeah. But I'm understanding that in that moment, it could have been so much easier for any parent out there who is listening. It's easier if you notice the differences. But if your child is always away from you, you will never know what's happened to them.
True.
If you don't keep checking in.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Because truth be told, is like it was never resolved. I spoke to a few adults and I was told never, ever to talk about it again.
And you had to see this relative over and over again.
Yeah. Parties where they would ask you and be like,
to greet
you. Why didn't you say hi? Why didn't you greet your uncle? But then you are afraid of this person because you've seen this person turn into a monster at some
Fancying
point.
your abuser. Yes, they are not
You
a
understand?
human being to
But
you.
honey, I faced him over and over and over again, like family functions, until I left Uganda.
Can I ask a personal question?
Oh, go ahead.
Did this contribute to your drinking?
No, actually,
Or that was just normal?
I might not know. I might not know that for sure because, to be honest with you, actually, when it comes to like my drinking was mostly
Partying. You just wanted
when
to
I
go
started
out.
like, yeah, it came together with partying, but also because I've never really, in all honesty, I have never drunk to numb my pain. It's the weirdest thing. Like I have never like, let's say, got a glass of alcohol and be like, oh my God, I just do not want to think about this or what. No. So
That's interesting.
if maybe if that's what it might be, then maybe I'm just really not aware of it because I like right now I'm healed. Okay, of course alcohol is getting a little difficult, harder to drink, but
But still,
I'm
I
still, yeah, I'm
welcome you
feeling.
to the side of sober people.
Honey, you stay sober. I love, I love me
I
my
will still,
drink.
I still have hope you're joining me soon.
But
We
you
have to be
understand that
those
when I
people.
talk
People
about
will
real
be like,
fun,
Resty and Vanessa, stop drinking. Why are we drinking? So you need to
oh,
join me so
I
people
remember
can
your
actually
mom was
stop
saying,
drinking.
Bojo, Bojo, kasi is arrested now. If you're not of your neck,
Of
you get at them.
course, of
Oh,
course. I was like, if my aunt is doing it, this is cool. But
but
I
you
only started
don't,
drinking
but
at
you understand.
18, and that's because I was literally an insecure young girl who was afraid of boys, and I was like, if I take
But
a
what?
sip, then
Here,
I will not care what they think
why
about me.
wouldn't you be afraid of boys with your grandmother's words? You remember how your
HIV didn't
grandmother would
stop with
make it
you, my
seem like if
friend.
a boy touches you, you're gonna get pregnant.
Huh? You think it's only grandma? Mommy
Hey,
told us if they
but you,
just touch you like this, you're going to get HIV.
HIV and pregnant and then you give birth
I
and
was
die.
afraid of boys. Literally, I would see them here and run the other way.
Mhm. It was I think initially when my mom like kept like very like scaring us and of course after my sister's death whatever. Also I was like not quite afraid of boys, but I remember I used to be a tomboy at some point, right? So I love this like I always felt like what a boy can do, I can do whatever. So I'm I'm mostly I don't know how to say it. So I was not scared of boys because my interest had never ever been like sleeping with the boys. Does that make sense? My interest was boys. Like for instance, I grew up around girls who never broke any rules. Like they were trying to do the right thing all the time. I was not that. Like
The
I
boys
was
were doing the things that you wanted to do.
yes. So I connected with boys more. Why? Because then, for instance, when I got like with my brother Richard, right? There are times we escaped out of that house
Well,
to go to
now
the.
grandma
Oh,
knows Richard escaped also.
oh,
Thank you very
oh,
much.
honey, Richard and Dorian. Dorian, ha!
Please, Dorian. I think Maita, she didn't tell me, but I'm telling you, don't speak her things.
I'm not. No, no, no. I'm not. Gonna, I'm not going to speak anything about her. But I'm just remembering us escaping together because that
I
was the
heard
first time.
stories
Was
of how Uncle Jude used to beat you guys up.
Jude was like a father. What the? Rest.
It's so weird. You're like 3 years older than me.
Jude,
Who are you to beat
Jude
me?
played dad at some point. Oh. Me, there's a time I think when he was whooping us, Dorian laid there. Me, I started fighting with him because I'm thinking, hey, 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 no, enough already. Apparently, I don't know
That's
what we
really
have
funny.
done. Ah, my,
That's
I know.
funny. Uncle Jude was also very strict with us when we were growing up at his place. I think he had this whole thing of if anything happened to these girls, what am I going to do? Tell their sister. So he would make sure there's DSTV paid at the beginning of the holiday. Give
So
us
that
any movies we want, and then you would be like, Uncle Jude, I want to go meet my friends for ice cream. I heard there's Ebola in town, so maybe next week. And then next week he'll push it to next week. Literally, I got to this point where I started tricking him. I would ask him when he's on his way to town.
we drove.
Yeah, I would always be like, man, you trained me well. So Uncle Jude would be like, and meanwhile, what was I even going to town to do? To just go and wear my clothes somewhere, because I had all these nice clothes from mommy and we didn't wear them anywhere. So Uncle Jude,
Finally,
he would go out
you and
every
I were so
Friday. Every Friday he would go out, and while he's on his way, then I would send him a message, because I know he won't see it until he gets to where he is. And by that time I would be back home. So I would send him a message. I'd be like, Alali, my friend has invited me to go and eat ice cream. And that's actually the truth. I was a really good girl. And by the time he reads the message, by the time he calls, I'm like, I already came back. So that was my trick.
a little bit of whatever. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyways, I wanted you to speak, because I know, since I know your life, you've spoken about the bad guy. Now let's talk about that good guy who you thought you were like, because I remember there's that phase where you were with the Orlando. I don't even know if people now know him. I feel like he disappeared.
We're still somewhat in touch here and there.
He disappeared. But I remember there's that phase where you and mommy stopped, like you were having some issues because you could not get out of the bar. We used to spend the whole night sitting, waiting for you to come back. Because for us, we were like, man, what cool story is she going to tell? And my mom is like, is my sister alive? Is everything okay? I remember we used to spend the whole, I was 10 years old. We used to sit home and wait for you to come back home. And then you would sit us down like at 1 o'clock and tell us, can you imagine? I was with Chameleon and then Orlando came and then this, and I'm like, this chick is so cool. And mommy is like, oh, my daughter, please, everything's like. I remember there's that time where you left home, and you got saved, and then you got married to a pastor who shall not be known. Please, before we conclude, let us not expose his name, but let us talk about these fake pastors. Please take us on this journey. I will tell people where they can find the full story. You can tell people. I don't want us to go into detail because this story has already been told. Where can they find it? What's the YouTube channel?
Uganda Connect UG.
Guys, please go to Uganda Connect UG and watch my auntie.
Diaspora Connect UG. My bad. Take that back.
Diaspora Connect UG
by Flavia Namulengwa.
People, I advise you, please go listen to this story. It is a horror movie. No, not a horror movie. It is a Nigeria.
We're gonna make
horror movie is so cool. It is a Nigeria. Anyways, please just briefly tell us about this person. Jesus Christ, people.
We go back to that part of I believe 100% because I keep saying I do not know why the guy chose me or blah blah blah. But I know why. I think he chose me because I was reeking of insecurity. You know when you're no, men always know. Like listen, by the time a guy comes to approach you to talk to you, whatever, some guys just kind of like, take a shot, right? But for somebody who comes and like starts talking to you and starts getting to know you, and then
analyze you,
they've analyzed that. Oh, okay, she may come off this way, but looks like she's an insecure little girl inside. Why? Because I believe in his mind, he already had a plan because he knew what he was planning, okay? He wanted somebody who, like, I was a people pleaser, somebody who just wants to do right, but also church. I also still was living a double life because I did not, for the life of me, I could not figure out how the hell to leave the club or the bars.
The bar was calling your name.
Right. Oh my God, there was a time this guy was dating me. Now, like, we are dating, and he came back to America. Now, everybody knows I am the pastor's soon-to-be wife. At some point, I'm going to be the pastor's wife. Child. We, in Kansas American Center now, I go home, like overnight prayers. So those days, I was like, oh, God, Fridays are the most fun days out there in the bars and the clubs. But then these people also have to pray till morning. But then I'm also attached this man. If I don't show up at church, the first phone call or message is going to go to him. Hey, your wife does not pray anymore. Or you're soon to be wife forever. And also in my mind, I really wanted this man to marry me because in my head, the only reason I wanted that marriage, honestly, is because I saw him as my ticket out of misery. out of, because this man had told me a lot of lies about himself, his life, blah blah blah. So me, in that moment, I actually got down on my knees and I prayed and was very grateful to God and told God, I remember, that all the pain that I have gone through throughout my childhood was not for
This is
nothing.
it. Yeah, this is it.
Because the moment I chose to know God is
And he
when
sent this
God
pastor.
decides to come, and all of a sudden, oh my God, maybe I'm meant to be. Because you know how you go to places and like different churches, and like somehow your the prophecies about your life are pretty much the same, and yet it's different places, different pastors, right? Prophecies about my life was I was supposed to touch people. Like basically, then I started understanding it as if I was supposed to be a pastor. But then I kind of felt like I don't quite fit there though. You understand, like the pastoring thing. But it could be just me, through me empowering other women, or
Sure.
through my stories and
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
So, but it has always been my, like, a prophecy that has been said to me by several pastors, including one that had told me that airplanes were going to turn into taxis. And I remember laughing that day. I laughed so hard, I was like, airplanes turning into taxis,
You've
eh?
never even been into one.
You understand what I'm saying? And then, girl, then airplanes turn into taxis for real, for real. Like right now, I gotta take a plane to go wherever I have to go, like within the
Yeah.
state. So that's my taxi to get me there, right? So it was to touch people. So I went off topic a little bit, trying to explain so much. So when I got here, when the guy was asking me out, my part was, oh my God, finally God is willing, like ready to use me, because the prophecies, the prophecies that had been prophesied about, like about my life or whatever. So I'm like, oh, so this is it. So even if God, because then God had not spoken to me, even if he had spoken supposedly to the other person, to the pastor. So now I'm thinking, maybe he doesn't even need to speak, because where he's putting me now, he's elevating me basically. Like he's putting me in a place I've never been before. Maybe if he's bringing me here, he's faithful enough to see me through it. Like,
For those of you who don't understand what elevation we are talking about here, this pastor lied to my auntie, my dear auntie, that he is a rich pastor in America who, I remember
little
one
Hollywood
particular
girl.
story. Apparently, he used to be in church preaching and he's talking about how he has a waterbed, how him and his wife are
Yes,
going to be sleeping on a waterbed. And apparently, his home was in Beverly Hills or Beverly what? I don't even know. I've been to America a
Hollywood,
couple of times.
Hollywood Hills.
So this is what my auntie, who was 23 years old or 22, was
23.
thinking. She was like,
Oh, wait, no. By the
man,
time he
I'm
started
done
dating me, I
with
was
dating.
21. 21 when he started dating me.
And you
Meaning
married him at 24.
I married him at 23 before my 24th birthday.
Yeah. So imagine you're 21 years old. Your life has been about going to club every day and hustling with people who are beating you up. These DJs out here beating up people and treating. So basically, you were a slay queen, right?
Yeah, I
Before you
think I
got
was bad
married.
for it. I
Like
should
it
be.
wasn't a term back then, but you were a slay queen. Let's say, let's
Yeah,
let's
because
be
all I
honest.
wanted
You were
was
like those people who were slaying all the
to go
time.
out there and, you know,
Exactly.
and the rest
So you are a
followed.
slay queen, and some rich guy comes to you and says, "Go, I'm going to take you to Dubai for shopping every month."
Yes,
Hey, and
I
you're
am
like,
married to that
and you're
king.
like, Jesus, thank you. I'm in church, and you have answered my prayer. I don't know what this guy is talking about. God is telling him to marry him, and apparently the pastor said God told him he had to marry her. Maybe he did. Maybe he did, some way or
He
another.
could
I don't
have,
know. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, when we look at it, like forget everything about him and the lies and all that stuff. He
He
got
served
here.
a purpose.
He wanted to live at in my sister's house, your auntie's house. If your auntie had not thrown him out, probably maybe the guy would have done like had his family here together with my sister. I don't know what was going to happen.
Auntie Beth said we should stop making her popular.
You should see the YouTube comments on the show. We would like to meet
She is
Elizabeth.
the cool. I
Give me a
know,
hug.
Elizabeth. Anyways, I feel like I want to tell this story for you because I feel like I can exaggerate it more.
So
But
they're going out and coming
Vanessa,
back.
this, please just speak to the woman out there who is thirsty because you were a woman full of trauma. You are finding yourself. You go to church to seek refuge. And then this pastor comes up to you and says, hey, little girl of 21 years old,
So there
I
was no
love you.
space for
God
me.
says I marry you. I have a very big house in Beverly Hills. I have a waterbed. So
And guess
leave
what?
all these
Waterbeds
DJs.
they're the most uncomfortable. You know, when you first hear about a
Hey,
waterbed,
we didn't know about them. So duh.
I know, but in that
Meanwhile,
moment, no, honey, I
Vanessa,
was impressed. I was like, wait, there's waterbeds
yes,
in
you were.
America?
You came home and told us how he was in
Yes.
church preaching, and he was like, pastor, whose name we shall not mention.
Yeah, I know.
Can
But
you
guess
imagine? He
what?
was
On
in church. He
YouTube,
was like,
listen, you're wasting your time.
I will
In
not.
YouTube,
I will
people
not be
keep on putting
responsible.
their
I will not be
name on it.
responsible. I will not be responsible. Anyways,
Okay.
apparently Vanessa comes home and she's like, church after church. She's like, yeah, we're in Zambia. I remember very well.
Oh yeah.
She was like, yeah, can you imagine? He was preaching in church and then he goes like, yeah, so my wife and I will be sleeping on our waterbed. And I was like, a water what? So
Like,
you were
honey,
also
you
looking
even know,
forward to sleeping on this waterbed.
listen. So guess what? Because I had never ever heard of the word.
Man,
I had never. I'm thinking now. I'm picturing a bed. What a bed! Like how is that? You like
heaven.
your imagination is getting because I'm a very curious person. And also, my imagination is like wild. You know that. So now my imagination is going, and I'm thinking, holy cow! Like how do you sleep in a water bed? You're just
The
like,
guy
oh no.
was like, I have this slay queen here in my hands.
And now the slave queen is telling him how, oh, my mom is actually out there in whatever. Because remember, grandma was here then.
Yeah, and he was like, hey, wait, what? You have
How
a
cold am
place
I?
where we can stay?
I know. I guess
Please,
that's what. Like, okay, I'll tell you.
just briefly take us through this con artist story
Anyway,
before we conclude. Oh my God.
so he um he comes down, sees me, watches me, blah blah blah, likes me, and makes it known because I guess it's a church thing where you make it known to the others that you're interested in this specific person. First, he talked to me for a bit, took me out a couple of times around like with other church goers. He never really like took me out by myself, but he had like already expressed interest in me, right? So me number one, I am I go back to that place in my life where I'm thinking, oh, why would why would the man of God want me? Like I was raped, I was never loved, like I was
Did he
like
know this?
so
Had you told him about your
no,
broken past?
oh, he did not know anything about me. Just like I did not know much about him except lies.
So what were you doing
Because
during
I
your
was not
courtship?
listen, do you realize that in all honesty, this is the first well, courtship was long distance. The guy was living here, I was over there, so we were never really it was just a
Was
phone
just
call
on the
here and
phone.
there. And also then phone calls were quite like pricey and
It
stuff
wasn't
because
smartphone.
so
Yeah, they used to you had to
yes,
make
it was not
yeah
like right.
social media, nothing. Yeah.
Actually, I feel like in Uganda we had cell phones more than the Americans had embraced cell phones here. You get it? Like in Uganda, we were like more cell phone people at that point in the early 2000s than the Americans. The Americans were like still using landlines. Very few of them when I came here that had cell phones. So, anyways, um, so we were not around each other enough to kind of like pick
Know
on
each
each
other.
other's yeah. But I believe that he had picked on the fact that I was insecure and like maybe I was just somewhat looking for like waiting for somebody to come and save me, like save me from whatever the hell that I'm dealing with. Because you people can tell even if you don't say it. Like a
Yeah.
man who's interested in you and stuff can read your vibrations. Because when a man, for instance, he was not the nicest guy to me. He made me feel even worse about myself. Because I remember at some point he was talking about before I whitened my teeth, right? At some point he was told me, hey, like I had a brown, like I don't know what, like a
Stain?
line or something in my teeth, like that was not very white or whatever, right? And I remember saying, amanyago tino gachusa amanyo mabi, like
So he picked
you
onto
like
your insecurities, yeah?
like he was adding, like listen, he added on to like a lot of my insecurities. He spoke. He almost always talked about what I was doing wrong, and how
Like he wanted to
somewhat
make
like
you the perfect person for him.
right, and also he constantly, like, when he was dating me, he constantly reminded me, I think, like, he made me feel like he was doing me a favor.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
A
So
young
then, but
girl,
also I'm hanging on in my mind. I'm thinking, okay, maybe if this, because now I've learned the fear of God. Like, oh my God, like I want to do right by God. I don't want to make mistakes. I know that, and also I would like go back to the part that, because in the born again Christian churches, you're not supposed to drink or do certain things that I was still doing. So in my head, I'm going like, yeah, so I think God is punishing me because I'm like not really fully committed to him, because I kind of still go out there, because most of my friends, the people that I related to, were not church going people. They were like club and bar going people, because I'd connected with them over time, because I've been going for a while. Anyways, long story short, this man comes back over here after making it known that he was interested in me, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And also, while he was saying he's interested in me, he was also talking to a bunch of other girls as well. He was talking to, I remember one of the girl called Patricia, um, and there was another one. So, and Olivia, I think. There was another girl called Olivia. Like I did not understand, because I'd
were they
never,
also young people? Were they also
no, they
around your
were church
age?
going like me, maybe a little, maybe same age or a little older. I don't know. Maybe
So
was
he
like
just
same
wanted
age, or
young
maybe I
girls
was
because
older
this man
than
was
them. I do
older.
not know.
Yeah.
But he was the adult. Well, we were also adults, but like adults in Uganda,
No, you
21.
weren't really adult. 21, you're
Right.
not that much
In
of an
Uganda, you're
adult
not
in
really.
Uganda.
Yeah, exactly. So
Because we don't get our independence that fast
until you
like people
marry or you
abroad.
get
Yeah,
married.
exactly. So at
Right.
home, 21, you're practically like 16 years, I think.
Right. So
Yeah.
Um, so that also brought back the whole thing of people pleasing, where in my mind I'm thinking maybe I'm not good enough, and that's why he has to have like
Try
several
other
backup
people.
plans or whatever, or this and that. Wow. So that also like was giving me a lot of insecurities, like where a man says he's gonna marry you, but you're not quite good enough. Like he wants to get you to that level of you being good enough for him. So it goes back to that part of like, yeah, maybe these men of God, you know how, of course, Balokole, right? Now I'm thinking, these men of God, they can see things, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he sees how unworthy I am, or the things that happened to me, even if I've not said it. Maybe, you understand? So I also started carrying myself like he's doing me a favor. But then when he returned, I felt like, okay, I did it for a while, like where I had to attend every lunch hour fellowship, every overnight service, blah, blah, like
It wasn't
every
you.
Sunday service. But I was not feeling it. I was just doing it because I was afraid that if I don't, they will tell him that I'm not coming to church, and then that will be an issue, or then maybe that will make me even more unworthy of him, and then maybe he might end up
Wow.
marrying another girl. Honey, anyways, so one day while I was out, like I was on my way actually, it's the funniest thing. I was on my way to church. Then you know how church was in Kansanga. Then when I got to Kabalagala, I do not know. I got out of the taxi. Okay? I got out of the taxi and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just make a stop and then I'll go later, because after all, they're going to pray and pray until morning. So, because it was Friday night. Actually, no, I know why I got out of the taxi. Sarah Sambo, Kabada's granddaughter, called me because I used to hang out with them days, like
In
going out
Kabalagala.
like clubs. Yeah, called me and I was like in the taxi then, right? Heading to church. So she called me because remember how like I had a cell phone, like remember those days we had, I even first borrowed your mom's cell phone when I had I think a line, but I did not have a phone.
Yeah.
And then we shared the phone with my sister for a bit. I'll take out my line, then she puts hers, and then we put in the one with the airtime. I remember those days.
It
And
was
then
so cool owning a SIM card back in the day.
you know, and then later on in life, of course, my that so-called ex-husband got me a phone because he needed to be in touch with me. So he got me a phone. He brought me a phone. It was a Motorola something like the key, the one that looked like a key then. So I had a phone. And most of the people in Africa, actually, like in Uganda, started getting cell phones then. Because Sarah called me. On my way to church, I told her I'm on my way to church. Oh, Ohikirenka. I'm like, I'm about in Zambia, like by the petrol station, gas station. There was a gas station there somewhere in Zambia. Right? That's where we were. There was people coming out of the taxi there. And then that's how I remember telling her that's where I was. It's like, oh, when you get to Kabalagala stage, come out and find us at Sherry's before you go to church. I'm like, okay, cool. So when I got to Kabalagala, I also got out of the taxi because then I was struggling with a lot of things. I'm like, I'm still feeling not good enough for this man. Now he's out there, and then I still have to continue with the act of, oh, I have to go to everything like as if I'm interested in going, but I was not. So I stopped by Kabalagala. I get out. I go to Sherry's, meet the Sarahs, and I drink Kingfisher. You remember that drink? It was like a wine, a sweet wine or something.
Yeah.
I think I drank because now I'm drinking them fast because I'm trying to make it to the service.
Church.
Right. So not knowing what's going to happen. So I drank, I think like 3 or 2. And I was like really drunk. Like I didn't feel like, you know how you're like, but you're feeling like, ooh, whatever. But that's how I went to church. So I go to church now. This whole thing of like, ooh, walking around and saying, and like praying about, because then those are the days I would walk around and just hear people speaking in whatever tongues, and then I copy whatever they said, and I also go rabba shabba dabba la la la, and then I walk to another one, I hear something else, I go with that one. You know something?
Amen. Not
You
everyone
know?
in church is there to church. Oh, wait.
You know? So I rabasha, I do whatever I have to do, blah, blah, blah. And I ministered. You know how you're walking around? I ministered. That was, I think, the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me.
You fell down?
No. I started throwing up. But then I'm only throwing up Kingfisher. You know, alcohol, like alcohol coming out of you. Like in church service, girl, like night prayers or whatever. Child, I threw up, and now the choir people and stuff, they're like, oh my God.
Pastor's wife.
She was drunk because you could smell the alcohol, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the news traveled. That same night, I think he got a message or something, or somebody must
All the
have
way
told
to
him
the States.
what was going on and whatever. Like, oh my God. So this man, when he called, he's telling me, like basically, like he was like a father, like trying to be like as if he's my dad, but I'm also like his future wife or whatever. He's telling me then, oh, how he can't marry me because he's been told I'm still drinking, blah, 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 this and that. I told him, well, that was something like, I've never really felt the need to lie about things that I'm doing, because I feel like it's better for somebody to know as opposed to be caught doing something that you assume I'm not doing, but then you did not take the time to know whether I'm doing it or not, right? So he knew I was still, struggling with like letting the other life go. You get it? Then he told me, oh, you know what? Maybe I marry Patricia, or was it Olivia? The other girl, I don't remember. You know what? Maybe I should marry Patricia. I
He's
think for us
telling you
more
this.
Yes, telling me. Because remember, I'm 21, right? So he's in his 40s already. That's exactly what my relationship was like. I think he should go with somebody else because I'm not. Then I remember telling him, you know what? You're right. Because I was struggling, Rusty. I was like struggling with this whole thing. And I'm thinking maybe the more I struggle, the worse it will get, because whatever I'm doing, I don't feel like it's what I should be doing. I feel like I am lost and trying to fit in again. Like it took me back to my childhood days of where you have to fit in with a certain family or what. It was just not okay. Until then, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I started to rebel. Then he tells me, you know what? Since you're still drinking, he started to rebel against whatever he was saying. Then here he goes, sends me to Entebbe. Because he told me now that he's dating me and he's not quite sure where I'm at or where I'm living, and he does not trust blah, blah, blah. He sent me to Entebbe to live with Pastor Mutebi and the wife. So that way I can learn from the other wife how to be a pastor's wife. So here I am again in my adulthood being bounced from, like, being told where I should live, because it was something that started when I was 3. And now here I am 21 and I'm told the same exact bullshit. So when I went to Mutebi's, yeah, okay, fine. I tried my best to fit in or whatever. Then eventually I felt like it was not working. So I started making friends, like church friends or whatever. And then there was a pastor that came to preach at Mutebi's church, Pastor Lyndon or something. This guy had also just gone through a divorce or some stuff. I'm like, oh, pastors also go through that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So through Lyndon, I met other people, like we became friends. And through him, that's how I met the guy, the Entebbe guy, the guy that worked at the airport in Entebbe, because he never went to Pastor Mutebi's church. So he went to Pastor, I don't remember the other, I think it was Kaisali. I think that was the name, the other Entebbe pastor. So that other guy attended the other church. So there was the time I think Lyndon was going to preach at the other side. So I told these people that I was going to go to church the other side to see him preach or whatever, because I'd made friends with him. So I went over to the other church, and I think after he preached that day, so we kind of connected and stuff. And now here I am meeting a pastor who was the pastor that was being invited in churches to preach. But now this pastor is somewhat drinking, right? Like he drinks like wine.
It's cool.
So now all of a sudden I'm thinking, see, maybe this is like, maybe I should marry someone like a pastor like this, like somebody who somewhat gets it, somebody who's not going to change my life like a lot. So somehow I think that was the attraction. Remember, I never knew what a healthy relationship looks like. Now I know what it has to feel like or look like, but I've not been one. So this guy, I start getting like, I think an attraction to him.
To the pastor? Or wait,
Yeah,
it was the guy at the airport.
No,
Not to
the
the
guy
guy
at
at
the
the
airport.
airport.
That time I've not even met the guy at the airport yet. Or maybe I'd seen him or whatever, but not like in that way of like somebody, But then because this one had issues, and like he didn't have, like, the pastor, he had issues. He had just come from, I think, Kasese. So he used to speak Rutoro. There was like a connection there for me, at least on my end. And I feel like this man, even if, like, he probably, even like when he hit on me, he had felt the vibration of like I'm attracted to him, or I'm like kind of like leaning on him a lot for. And then I would also I had a chance of like talking about the stuff that I felt like did not feel right in the church with somebody who has been in there for a
In the
while.
church. Yeah.
So I think the connection came from all that, and the fact that he was still drinking but also able to preach, and I also see people reacting the same way they react when somebody who doesn't drink or who is supposedly proper with God preaches. So for me, there was no difference, because I wanted to see the difference. Like, when he preaches, does anything change? Yes, people still get, because then I didn't understand, when God is using you, don't matter what you're doing with yourself, to yourself as a person. If God has chosen to use you, he's going to use you anyways, regardless of whatever imperfections or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, but that did not last. The attraction, I think we probably even like maybe slept with each other maybe once or twice or something. And it did not feel right. So within that period of time, when I was not like dealing with him anymore, is how but still like kind of like chit-chatting, but we're not like in a relationship with each other, because I think we felt it like we're not right for each other or some stuff like that. So remember, when I meet this guy. Through him, I meet this guy the one that worked at the airport. So this one was just a church-going person. Remember, I am lost. I do not know healthy relationships. I do not know what happens for a woman or a man to get together and make a family. I did not know nothing about that, right? So when I met this other guy, he was then now my brain told me, maybe it's better to just be with someone who's a church goer. Like, they go to church and stuff, but they're not really pastors. So you don't have to be like a pastor's wife, because that's like, it was also scary, like the
The spotlight
responsibility.
is not on you. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I would rather a spotlight of like, oh, Muyimbi, she's a singer, or she's an actor, but not a spotlight of being a pastor's wife. It freaked me out. It used to scare me. So, anyways, long story short, I date this guy in Entebbe, and then this man learns of it, because after I started
The
dating this guy, I literally moved out of the other pastor's house where they had told me to leave. I told them, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to live here anymore. I get to choose where I want to live. I got my stuff and moved in with a guy. You understand? Like, do you see? Do you see that that journey? I literally just went to the other place, got my stuff out of the pastor's house where I had been told that I had to leave, learn how to be a pastor's wife, and then I also told them to let him know that I was done. I was not going to do it anymore with him. I was done. So if he calls, please tell him I'm done.
pass on the message. We break
I'm
up.
moving on. Right. Before they knew it, now these guys are like, they're thinking I went back to Kampala. Before they knew it, now the churchgoers from Pastor Mutebi's
Entebbe.
church are seeing me now at the beach on Sunday, hanging out with some other dude, like basically living. Because then I had no, like, I don't think I had shame in that, because again, it went back to that part that now I've chosen my own person.
You were
Everybody else
shameless
needs,
about it. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it was, yeah. So I'm like, everybody else will have to get with the program. Like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I started seeing this guy. We're going out a lot. We're doing fun things. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, Blokole can be fun. Like, because I'm still like able to live my life and go to church and wherever. Before I knew it, this guy comes back to Uganda, the pastor, the pastor that I was married to. And boy, I
The
do
one you
not
got,
know.
just to be just so the listeners can, you hadn't gotten married at that time
No,
yet.
no, no. I wasn't married yet. That was during our courtship, and he had come back here, and I was getting bored with the whole church responsibilities and stuff. So I wanted to just do me, you know? So he comes back because he was told, by the way, your wife was taken. She's actually with
But
another
what's
guy now.
funny is he told you he can marry someone else. So why was
Yes,
he
and
still
that's when I
claiming
told
you?
him that, listen, and that's when I told him, actually, I think that's best for both of us.
Yeah, but then why was he
And then,
still claiming you if he had
no,
told you
and
in
then
your face he was
no,
going to
and
marry?
then like, listen, in the same conversation, the same man tells me maybe I'm overwhelmed about being a pastor's wife. So
Ah,
his
to
solution was
send
go
you
live with a
to
pastor and a
learn
wife,
and
so you
learn
can
from them.
learn. You understand? Learn from them how to be a wife. So my time there was definitely for me to learn how to be a pastor's wife. But instead of learning how to be a pastor's wife, I found a different way that was working for me, and I took that path, okay, without fear or shame or anything. And I paraded this guy around everywhere. I even started going to church with him, parading him as my boyfriend now, okay?
So the pastor comes back.
And I do not know what sort of or whatever, how he congregated with other pastors and stuff, and like then the threats started coming from
They
other
scared this
pastors.
guy off.
Yes, and the guy literally quit. He's like, because he also had a fear of God because he's born again. Now they're telling him he has touched the anointed of God by
Eh?
taking a woman that's supposed to marry this anointed of God. Blah blah blah. This So the guy is like, you know what?
Sorry.
I can't do this. This comes with a lot of stress, a lot of phone calls. I do not know, even like sometimes even when my pastor calls, usually my phone calls with my pastor were like good phone calls. Now when he calls, he's asking, has that woman left your place yet, or is she there? Blah blah blah. So he asked me, he's like, you know what, I can't do this. So I had to leave.
Yeah.
I left, and not long after I left, of course, oh yeah, the guy reports back to the pastor. I let her go, pastor, because, and then he went as actually, I think maybe for prayers to be prayed for or whatever, so that he does not take over the curse, whatever curse that was supposed to happen to him.
After
Honey.
touching the anointed.
Hmm.
Anyways, fast forward, you
And
get
that was
married to
that.
this pastor.
Oh no, actually, when I get back, because he was in town then, he saw me towards the end of his trip because I was like mad and also still rebelling and being like, okay, he thinks that's it. I could find another person. I could find another man. You know those things like where you're like you're trying to prove a point. Like Yeah, but before I could, he reaches out. He wants to meet. We go out with some of the other people because he never really, even when it was important for us to talk about stuff, he never really was with me, just me. There was always other people, spectators, people listening into the conversation or whatever. So he comes back, and when he gets back in, like with me to talk to me, the first statement he said is he forgives me for all the acting out and the dating of another guy, blah blah blah. And
This wasn't a relationship.
no, listen. That's what I'm telling you. Like when I tell people, there's no, I don't know how to explain this relationship for it to make sense.
This man married you because he needed you for something.
Yes. And when we got here, we found out what it was for, but also he did not give me enough information to help him. And also I found out when we got here that he did not have anything, that like no papers, nothing. So I was the one
He
that was
was
supposed to
just
get here, and I was the one that was supposed to be working
he
the
was
regular
taking.
jobs.
This is practically. It's like, what do they call it?
Sex
Trade,
trafficking or
sex
something.
trafficking.
Yeah, I'm telling you because I wish the sex was also sex. Anyways, the thing, but the thing is, because when we got here, he was because he's I think his uncle told me, oh, your visa, the visa that you came on can give you social security, blah blah blah, so we can, like, basically it was like fast track, do this ABCD, blah blah blah, so that way I can get into the workforce, like working system, so that way he can preach and have a place to come, like I'm paying the bills and he's preaching and coming home to, like, because
He
he had
took
never ever
a
had a place of his own the entire time he was here. He never ever
yeah.
once had an apartment of his own or a house, nothing.
He took a young girl, desperate. He was like, okay, I'm helping her, so I can take her and tell her what to do, and she will make the money while I go ahead and lie to people that I am a pastor.
And he, oh, remember that I still had this situation of people pleasing. So whatever, this man, when, listen, every time he preached like somewhere, and like the time I remember when he first introduced me to his mom never liked me. He's like, why are you marrying a little girl? Like she's young, she's little. Like how can she? Why don't you find a girl that's like, and also a girl maybe that grew up in church, because she's just literally learning about salvation and all that stuff, and then you're trying to. It's like, no, this is the one that God told me to marry. This is the one I'm gonna marry, whatever. We did not quite like each other with the mom, because the mom was like too Muganda. Like they have, you know how the Baganda tribe has all these rules and blah. You always have to kneel. That are, ay ay ay. Anyways, he brought me here anyway. Long story short, we get married. I'm gonna get to jump to that because eventually, when we got back together, after about a year or two, we got married. A year, I think, we got married. We came down here. And that other story, I'm not going to get into it. But when I came here, he was a fraud, okay? A guy that was being, number one, he did not have a place of his own. Like he told me he had a house in Hollywood Hills. This man was squatting at another woman's house. This woman had two teenage children, a son and a daughter. They were sleeping on a double decker in the living room because it was a one-bedroom apartment. And this man was sleeping on the sofa bed. And that's where he had brought his wife to come and be married, sleeping on a sofa bed while the kids are sleeping on the double decker, right? Like right in the same space as us. Thankfully, I did not even sleep there one night. My sister, your aunt, picked me up
Picked you up.
and I went to her house. Thankfully, because I do not know, because a lot of people are looking forward to meeting this very pretty young girl that got
And
married to
then
this
he
loser
followed
guy.
you guys.
He, oh my God! So he was going, because when I came to my sister's, he was going to preach in New Mexico. So when he returned from New Mexico, well, before he returned, he calls me and tells me he has some Bazungu friends that are coming to see me, blah blah blah, and welcome me to America and all that stuff. That is all the information he gave me. Do you understand that part? Now this finally the Bazungu arrived. We opened the door. I was with my sister and my brother-in-law. They come in, we welcome them, blah blah blah, and they're looking at me and like very suspiciously. And then I think he asked where Vanessa was. I'm like, oh, I'm here. He's like, And then the woman is looking at pictures like, but they don't look the same. She doesn't look anything like this woman, blah, blah, blah. And that's when the can of worms opened. Because now they've come into a realization that maybe they've been sold a lie. And these are guys who had been excused from paying taxes to help in Uganda, to help, I think this guy talked about he had an orphanage where he built an orphanage apparently on this guy's dime. He did not build one. And then he had orphans that he was taking care of, and all that stuff. And these people were like literally the ones that were sending the funds to take care of all that. So I think that year they were supposed to get audited, because I arrived here in January. Like I came here in January, so it was tax season, like almost tax season, and they were going to get audited. So by auditing you need to send proof of I was not paying taxes because this is what I was working on. So you have to have your things together, paperwork and all that stuff of your expenditures and all that stuff of what. So this man, the moment he realized, like, but I'm like, oh, that's Rachel. Like, I remember when they showed me the pictures, but who's this then in the picture? I look at the picture. I remember the lady because she was at my church. She was in the choir. I go, oh, that's Rachel. She's actually a married woman with kids, because Rachel was married then. She just played a part because the other guy, when the guy came to Uganda, that was during the time I'd broken up with this pastor. So the guy was here in Uganda for like a week and then came back to America. And then we made up after the Muzungu went back. Does that make sense? Yeah. So in the pictures and stuff, Rachel had to pose as Vanessa because he had already told them the name of his wife.
Wow.
But then other people from like church goers would come and call her Rachel, and then they had to come up with the story that Rachel was her middle name, but a lot of people like referred to her as Rachel. So they played that part. So when I looked at the pictures, like, oh, that's Rachel. And then the guy said, yeah, everybody kept referring to her as Rachel, but he told me it was her middle name. I'm like, no, that's Rachel and Vanessa. It's like, okay, so what is going on? I thought you guys were married, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I just got married to him like last month, December. It's like, wait, so you guys had children before marriage? I'm like, children? I don't have any children. Oh, but we are paying for, I think they were paying for my children's school fees. Two of my children. I was 21. Did I even know then if I wanted kids? I don't know. But anyways, long story short, they realized they were being played, and the guy starts to threaten me how he's going to call the police and blah, blah, blah. And then from there, my sister took it on until she had them out of her house. But she reasoned with them, and they realized, oh no.
You were just
my sister asked them, because they saw the
person.
album of the pictures, and they're like, oh my God, she just literally got married to this man like 3-4 weeks ago. You get it? Or 5. So now my sister is talking about, like, no, she just got married, so you never dealt with her, you've never spoken to her, so you gotta deal with the person that you dealt with initially to handle whatever it is that you need to handle, because my sister has nothing to do with it. She literally just married this man. She does not even know who she married.
Yeah.
And that's that. They left. And when he came back, he was angry about oh my God, you messed up everything. What's wrong with you? I thought you were smart. You're one of the most stupid people I've ever met. You ruined my life. I knew you're the devil. The devil is using you.
Wait, not only did this guy marry you for work and because you were young, he also married you because he saw you as a muyaya. He's like, this one will help me to handle my
muyaya of a wife, so we could play the games together. But what he did not understand is being muyaya does not make you a thief or you understand, like a con artist or whatever. But that's what he looked at me as. He wanted somebody from the streets to help him with the things that he was doing here, the illegal shit that he was doing here. So I fit in I was the perfect candidate for that. And I think because then I was still much of a people pleaser, I believe that if he had given me information, I probably would have done the best to protect him. Do you understand? But he gave me no information whatsoever, so I was confused when these guys were asking me shit that I'd never even heard of before. Like the orphanage. I'm thinking, huh? Orphanage?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? Anyways, When he came back, after telling me how stupid I am, blah blah blah, he comes like now he's like he never apologized for anything actually. Even when he would fuck up big time, he never said sorry. Ever. I don't remember one time ever, like him saying sorry for either hurting your feelings or whatever. He would just come back and pretend now, like as if that did not happen, moving on, moving forward. And I was also I had also mastered that art very well due to my childhood, where people did not have to explain themselves, even if they hurt me, even if they beat me for nothing, even if I did not, I just have to
Yeah.
go with it, get over it, because they're not coming to apologize. So get the
Yeah.
hell over. So I was accustomed to that too, which I think helped me maybe deal with him better. He'd be very abusive in like like verbal
Verbally, yeah. Yeah.
and emotional, because he would make me feel like I'm ugly or whatever. Anyways, long story short, he came over to visit me here, but when he came, he said my sister asked, and like she let him sleep over one night, right? Then the next day, like Elizabeth asked what were his intentions, like what's happening, like are you going, when are you leaving, blah blah blah. He goes, then this man tells him that I do not remember the part, whether it was God or the pastors that I told him, but he told your aunt, you've heard the story before, that oh no, he was told that he needs to leave or be where his wife was.
Ha ha
We
ha.
cannot live in separate households. And my sister's like, yeah, then get out there, get a place, and take your wife so you can live together. But you're not, clearly, I'm not going to have two men in my house. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
You know?
true.
Yeah. And he didn't leave that day until she like literally threw him out, anyways. She just told him, get your shit and get the hell out. She had to throw him out. And then that's when he left. He left
And that's why I
cursing,
love my mom, my auntie.
cursing.
She just she set you free.
Mhm. And she told me,
Vanessa,
she's like,
we can talk for 5 hours.
oh
Oh
my
my
God,
God, we
listen.
need to. I know people are going
Anyways,
to enjoy this conversation so much,
I
and
got here, left,
we
blah, blah,
need.
blah. Eventually, the healing, for me,
Wow.
my
Yeah, I
healing
would really want
came.
us to talk about the healing, because how does someone recover from all this trauma
So,
and
but
craziness?
if you realize from a way younger age, I just learned, like, for some, I don't know, man, God, again, it brings me back to being God's favorite child. God gave me this power to smile from my heart. I don't just smile on my face. To smile from my heart regardless of what's going on. Like
Yeah.
my house could literally be on fire and I'm sitting smiling and maybe sipping on a drink and being like, this is life. Let's see what the universe is bringing next. You
Yeah.
understand? Because at the end of the day, I'm thinking, I have never, through it all, because growing up in a religious background and then joining Balokole, I think joining Balokole churches is when I actually started understanding the power of God. All like everything I needed to know. Like I think I got a lot of strength from my experience going to a born again Christian church, because regardless of who the preacher was, blah blah blah, whatever, that's the only time I understood God's word, because it was like somewhat broken down, like
It was personalized to
right.
your
And then I started,
experience. Yeah. Yeah.
and then I started like to learn more. I'm like, then when I think I remember, where did I read this? I read it somewhere in a. It was not a Bible. I don't remember where I read this, but I kid you not, Resty, from that day going forward, and it was like when I was still living in Uganda, where I read that when God expects more of you, like when you are supposed to do big things, you cannot have an easy life. You have to go through hell and back, hell and back, hell, because
Yeah.
then that's what you understand what I'm saying. So then, when I started, like when I read that statement, it changed my pain. It didn't. I did not heal from the statement did not help me heal, but it changed the way I looked at my pain. I started to look at myself as, oh wow. I wonder what it is that I might do in the future, because what I've been through is, but then also I'll be like maybe halfway somewhat going back into victim mentality. And then I see, because not I'm not gonna name names. I've grown up with some people who have been through worse. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, when you're sitting down and like feeling like, oh my God, I've been through it all. And then you actually see somebody who has through it all. Like, yo, where somebody's traumas make yours seem like child's
Nothing.
play.
Yeah, and that's
Honey.
I think that's also a bad thing, because then we compare, we
Our traumas.
minimize
Yeah.
our trauma and make it seem like it's like saying I wasn't sexually harassed, so I shouldn't get help. No,
Oh,
you
no,
need
no, no. Me,
help.
I told my, I
Whether you
kept
were
saying like,
beaten, whether you were what, you need help.
yeah, so I guess that's it. But the healing mostly, I guess my healing mostly was now quit the whole like godly religious church thing. I somewhat, I guess church, like Balokole churches, like the born again Christian churches, somewhat um wake your, like they awaken some people, even if some people are asleep in those churches. Like meaning the awakening where you start to see life the way it should be. How you start to analyze and realize that God is not out there to get you. He's not out there to punish you. He's not out there to see you struggle, whatever. He just wants you to believe that he got your best interest at heart, and he will see you through whatever. You understand? So then, but I still, my situations, my kept kept show like popping up in my other relationships, right? So for instance, to date, even after going through therapy, right? Many years of therapy. To date, when for instance I'm in a relationship with someone, and if they wanted sex and I said like I'm not in the mood and I said no, if they kept asking, I start feeling threatened. I start feeling like I have to, my brain goes into defense mode, like be ready to fight if
Yeah.
this shit should happen again. So that's the part that I've quite not gotten like past. I still like, I still feel very threatened when I say no and they're still pushing for it. I start to feel like, oh my God, oh my God. I go back to that place of the little girl being forced to do shit. So, but anyways, therapy helped a lot, and a lot of YouTube videos of the awakening and listening to other people's stories, Oprah, Steve Harvey. I've listened to a lot of people on like YouTube. I still do, and I also affirmations. Affirmations
Yeah.
did a whole big thing for me. They do not just help kids. Like it's good to teach people when they're young to speak some positivity into their lives. For everybody that's watching that has been through something, trust me, if you cannot afford therapy or these you don't have therapists near you, but you can afford some what you call it, data to go to YouTube or whatever. There are very, very many helpful videos and
Yeah, there's
audios on
also
YouTube. Yo.
podcasts and yeah.
Uh-huh. And then they actually, yes, podcasts like hers and many others, like there's so many things out there now that empower us as women to understand, to have a better understanding that it was not our fault, okay? Things happen. It was not, because the moment stuff like that happens to you, you start to look at yourself like, because me, I remember the statement of saying that I was asking for it. That stuck with me for a lot. I'm like, oh my God. Maybe sometimes you're just like walking around not even thinking about something, but somehow you're asking for bad things to happen to you. Because in my mind I could not understand that part. So through therapy, I did get to understand that I guess the reason, like, I understood why I was choosing my partners the way I did. It all went back to my childhood and not feeling enough or worthy of love. And also knowing that the first time, every time a man told me he loved me, I would go above and beyond and do whatever, anything on this planet to make them happy. Just the word, not the actions, the word. They love me. Because then didn't I didn't think I was worthy of love. But right now, catch me if you can. I am worthy of a healthy relationship. I am worthy of all the good things that are out there that God, because he provides abundantly, you
Yeah.
know? So I know that I've not given up. I've not given up on love, but I'm not like out there saying, "Oh my God, when is it happening to me?" I'm also not under pressure. Like, oh my God, why? When is it happening? No, none of that. But if it should happen, I'm pretty sure they're going to find me a very, very healthy individual to relate to. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Wow.
Mm.
If you noticed, I got silent. Like
Yes, I did
at
notice
some
that part.
point in this conversation, I think this is my longest podcast. I think this is going to be like 3 parts, first of all. At some point I was like, I should cry, but I'm glad that we had this conversation before we recorded. Like, you prepared me for what was
Yes.
coming, because I had no clue you went through all these things.
Uh,
I'm even so emotional right now with everything, but I am so proud of you.
mm.
You are a force of nature. And in the Bible, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper
Amen.
you, and plans." God knows. Oh my God, only God knows what you're going to do. And we are going to do it together on SheCentre,
Absolutely. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm just like
because
that's
you
because I think
have
that's
gone through so much, and it's relatable. And no wonder you are a magnet. If you've noticed, everywhere you go, people are always attracted to you.
yes, people just always come close, whatever. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, even the people that don't like me much, they kind of still want to hang around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, yeah, that girl is spoiled, but let me see what's going on. Anyways, I'm going
Eh,
to even, I'm not even going to record anything after this. Like, I'm concluding in this, and this is my first time concluding in an episode.
uh,
Anyone who is listening to this out there, this was so heavy. I do know. The other day, I was speaking to someone, and they were hearing the story of Florence, who was my previous guest, and she was sharing about her sexual abuse, and the person said she couldn't even go any further because she was triggered.
mm,
So this might trigger so many people out there, but I hope you can push through it and listen to this and be able to see what comes out on the other end of life. What
also,
happens to you does not define you.
also, whatever triggers you, I know because people have gone through different things, but pay attention to your triggers and work through them because that's what brings you to a healthy side of you. Why? Because I know these like I had several triggers. For instance, if a guy that was like almost like had a body type and a color of the man
That
that raped
person,
me,
yeah,
like like hit on me or try
they triggered you.
like
Yeah.
my heart would literally start racing right away. This man is saying things, not things of abuse or whatever, but I'll start like I would want to be like as far away from them as possible. Maybe they would be good men or whatever. Who knows? I was not there for it. So I know that triggers are things that we have to heal from because the thing is this it's a world, it's an open world. People like now lately, especially in this era, people don't really care much about people's feelings. You can post maybe a picture and like you're just recovering from something, and somebody comes and like starts putting horrible comments to even just kind of throw you into depression. So
Yeah.
when we don't deal with our triggers, we find difficulty relating to other people because people are going to trigger
Yeah.
you always
Yeah. That's
unknowingly.
true.
Somebody will be telling a story and you're like, oh my God, they made me feel like this. You can't.
I know.
We have to let
Vanessa,
go. We have to
Vanessa,
heal. Yes, my love. I love you so much. I gotta go work
this,
soon.
no way. This, I need to conclude because I usually record something over like after, but I just need to
Oh,
record
okay.
this after. So, any
Okay.
person out there listening, this was heavy. If you're listening to this, this means you have listened to the end. And trust me, there is more that Vanessa has not talked about. Her life is
A lot more.
one of those things. But thank you so much for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that the people who have judged you your whole life, and I am one of those people.
I know, right? The biggest judges are our
I am
family,
one of your
always.
biggest supporters and biggest whatever. And also
Oh
at
yeah.
some point in my life, I was like, but maybe something is really wrong with my auntie. Anyways, yes,
Mental
something
health,
was
huh?
wrong.
Have
Something
a
was
mental health.
wrong. Something happened to you. But
Right.
I hope on behalf of them, we apologize. on my own, I hope everyone picks up the phone and calls you if they have ever judged you or said anything in any way. I apologize because this is too much. I can't even walk halfway in the shoes that you've walked in and be smiling that you are. You are so loving. You're so caring. You literally give your whole self to everyone, and yet you carry all this trauma behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You're out here doing things and people are like, or you're Vanessa Amanyi Nakuchi. Like, okay, I'm sorry.
I know.
What problems does Vanessa know?
I know.
Well, I hope that this message gets to them to see that no matter what you've been through, your story, I'll still repeat it, does not define you. What happened to you is not you. Guys, my auntie is 40, almost 34 years old.
Absolutely.
She looks like she's my age mate.
Thank you for the compliment.
She's the hottest woman in the whole of Uganda and America, I believe. In my opinion. Don't come for me.
They'll come for you.
But you are the literal definition of a force of nature. And you are indeed God's favorite child. Because
absolutely. He never
there is no way someone who has gone through all this can still believe in God in many cases. But guess what? You do. And yeah, guys, this is SheCentre. Thank you so much. Give just a few sentences. Speak to a woman out there who might be going through what you're going through, who does not have the guts. I give you a few minutes. Don't take us in another conversation because this might never end.
No, I actually need to compliment you at least. Dear women, dear listeners, whoever is listening, there is hope.
Yes, there is.
Like, all hope is not lost.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to get to the other end, to the better side of whatever it is that you are going through, you have to be open to healing.
Yes.
You have to really be open to healing, because if you're not open to healing, if you let yourself continuously feel like the victim, then you are empowering the people that actually got you to that place. You don't want to empower the people that you're abusers by giving them the credit like, oh, I'm this way because of so and so. No, you are that way because you choose to be that way. You choose to be a victim instead of finding ways of healing, because guess what? I have healed from pretty much everything that I've healed from without people coming to apologize for the things they did to me. But I found ways to heal. So please don't, if you're waiting for that apology, don't hold your breath. A lot of abusers or people who have inflicted pain in your life are not going to come back and apologize to you. Most of them won't. So you have to find a way to heal. Find help where you can. If you cannot afford therapy, again, I say it. There's podcasts, there's
books.
YouTube videos, there's books, there's a lot of self-help situations out there that you can go to or use to heal. I started to heal when I realized that I needed therapy is because I was already going through healing on my own. I had already started the journey, and that's when I realized, I actually need help to cross over to certain things or to, but there's hope, dear ladies, there is hope.
Well, you had it here. SheCentre, the female podcast, is here to bring you so many more of these stories. And guess what? Vanessa, as soon as she told me this story, I have been, oh gosh, I don't need to even go.
Oh, you were angry. You were so angry.
I was so angry. I was so emotional. I still am so angry. I hope I don't see this person again. And you were afraid you were not going to be
able to sleep, remember? You're like, oh my God, I'm going to have nightmares.
But guess what? I slept
good.
because in your voice, I'm hearing healing. You're not speaking this from anger. You're speaking this from healing. And that's amazing. That's one of the most amazing things. And I know that God is going to use you. So,
amen.
Thank you.
Please,
thank you so
Lord,
much.
use me. Thank you so much for having me.
Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is SheCentre, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.